Hi there, this is the method for writing a melody at junior cert level. It's a general method for writing a 4-bar tune and can be adapted for question 7 on the junior cert paper. There are 7 steps which we'll just list here and we'll explain later. First of all, the recorder range, the magic circle, the general shape or map, the chord progression, the bones notes, the added notes, and the phrase mark. Now we'll take each of those in sequence. First of all, the recorder range, the range of notes playable on the recorder. We draw out the recorder range from middle C to high A in the given key. We'll write in the letter names of the notes and don't forget the sharps or flats of the key signature if there is one. Then we write in the tonic solfa names with Do as the key note. An example in the key of C. Here are the notes of the recorder from middle C up to high A, and there is no key signature in the key of C, so it's just the letter names as so. And if we're in the key of C, that means Do goes on C, so the first note there is Do all the way up to high La. Here it is for the key of G. Now we notice that the notes are still the same, but the key signature now has a sharp sign on the top line, which makes it F sharp. So when we name the notes, we must remember that we must put a sharp sign on the Fs. Now that we're in the key of G, it means that the Do note goes on G, second line, and therefore these notes underneath Do will be the low tonic solfa, like so. Fa, Sol, La, Ti, then Do from G up to high Do and a high Re as well. You can practice doing that in the different keys that are used in the junior cert, apart from the two we've done, key of F, key of D and key of B flat. Triads. A basic chord or triad has 3 notes. That's where the word triad comes from. The bottom note is the root and it names the triad. The middle note is the third because it is 3 notes away from the root, and the top note is the 5th, which is 5 notes away from the root. Chords can have extra notes, e.g. an added 7th, which is 7 notes away from the root. The triads in a key are numbered using Roman numerals. Capital I is the Do chord, capital IV is the Fa chord, and capital V is the Sol chord, etc. The magic circle. This is a little method we use to take out the main chords of a key. So we draw out the 7 different notes of the scale in a circle with the key note or Do at the top. We extract the chords as shown in the following example. In the key of C, we put our notes around in a circle with C at the top. If we join C to E and on to G, we get the chord of C major, which is chord number 1 because it is built on C, the first note of the scale. Then, starting on G, we continue the shape G to B to D to F, and this is the chord of G7, which is G, B, D, which is the triad, plus the added 7th F, which is 7 notes away, also known as the dominant 7th. And finally then we join F to A and on to C to get the chord of F, which is chord 4, and you can see a nice pretty star shape has been created by doing this. Now this method gives us the 3 main chords of the key, the 3 major chords, chord 1, chord 4 and chord 5 with the added 7th. If we do it in the key of any key we like, we can use this template. So you decide what key you want to do it in, you put your Do note at the top, you take account of the sharps or flats of the key signature when you are putting in the 7 different notes, and you can build up the chords as you wish, always using the same shape. That's the one for the chord 1. this one for chord 5 with the added 7th, that's why there's 4 notes, and finally this one for chord 4 because it will be built on the 4th note. Again, an exercise: do out the magic circle in each of these keys, G, D, F and B flat. There's the template. Third step is the general shape or map. This is a diagram on the stave that shows where the tune will start. We start our tunes on either the Do, Mi or So note. Where the tune will end, a tune must end on the Do note, and where the tune will go in the middle. It's inserted sometimes to stretch the range to an octave. I'll show an example in a minute. Here we have a shape showing the tune starting on E, which is the Mi note in the key of C, and ending on high C, which is the high Do note in the key of C. The range of that tune would only be 6 notes if we stayed in between E and high C. So in order to have a nice range of an octave, we stretch the range up like that. So now our tune will start on E, which is Mi, go up to high E, which is high Mi, and then come back to end on high Do. A couple of things to help you avoid trouble: don't start and end on the same note, and don't have more than an octave between the start and end note. Now we go on to step 4, the chord progression. Using the magic circle, put one chord under each of the 4 bars of the melody. The simplest thing to do to start is to use the same chord progression all the time. So under bar 1 we'll put chord 1, under bar 2 we'll put chord 4, under bar 3 chord 5, 7, and under bar 4 chord 1, whatever they happen to be in the key you're working in. So here's our example. If we add chords under the 4 bars in the order 1 to 4 to 5, 7 to 1, in the key of C that will be chord C to F to G7 and back to C. So here they are shown underneath the bars of music: C under the first bar, F under the second, G7 under the third, and C under the last. Those last 2 chords, G7 to C, make a perfect cadence. Now we put in the bones notes. If we imagine that the melody is made up of notes that belong to chords and notes that are added. So the bones notes are put in first of all as crotchets on each beat of the bar. They belong to the chord placed under the bar. They are also called harmony notes. They should generally follow the shape of the tune shown at step 3. The last bar should contain just one long note to start with anyway. So, for our example, if we want to have the chord of C under the first bar and we want to start on E and move upwards, we could have something like this: E to G, another G, and then on to C. By the end of bar 1 we have moved up a good bit of the direction that we want to go. In the second bar we have the chord of F, so we need to use the notes F, A or C as crotchets. Here I came back to A, then repeated the A, moved on up to the C, moved on up to the F. In every case you should either stay the same or move up to the next note in the chord or move down to the next note in the chord. Finally then, for the G7 chord, I have come back and worked my way down through D to B to G and back to B, and then finally step on to my final note, which is C, and for the moment we will always make that one note that fills the whole bar. These are the bones notes. They belong to the chords and they're put in as crotchets with a long note at the end. Here's a task for the bones notes. Using the preparation work that you have done for the different keys, do steps 2, 3, 4 and 5 in each key. Added notes. These notes do not belong to the chord under the bar, but are placed stepwise between the harmony notes. They come in two types: passing notes and auxiliary notes. Passing notes are the first. You can put a passing note in between two harmony notes that are a third apart. For example, if you have two harmony notes C and E, they are a third apart and the note D goes in between them. D would be the passing note. When you put it in, beam it to one of the notes on either side to make two quavers, thus keeping the correct number of beats in the bar. Here we're going to have a look to see all the possible passing notes we could put in. We probably wouldn't put in them all, but we put in a selection. You have a look for a second to see where you think they might go. So, here goes. They are all the possible passing notes, but we wouldn't necessarily put them all in. In any melody you would only put in a few. The second major type of added note is the auxiliary note. Put in auxiliary notes between two harmony notes that are the same pitch. It can be a step above or a step below. In order to be able to use this type of added note, you must have put in two notes of the same pitch at some point in step 5. For example, C, C, you could put a D between them, or you could put a B between them. The D would be an upper auxiliary note and the B would be a lower auxiliary note. Again, you'd beam the notes as before. So, if we look in our example, we can see that if you have two G's in bar 1, you could put in an auxiliary note above or below those two. It must be a step away, so it would either be an A or an F. Likewise, in bar 2, you could put in a B above or a G below. After you've put in the added notes, then you have one job that left you can do. We call it the dot and dash. Where you have two crotchets beside each other, you can put a dot on one of them, making it a dotted crotchet, and put a tail on the other, making it a quaver. This makes the rhythm more interesting. The final melody could look like this. We've taken the structural notes and added a selection of passing and auxiliary notes. We have also added a dot and dash, and we end up with a tune like this. Finally, you put in the phrase mark. The tune is completed. All you need now is to put in a long curved line from the first note to the last note. And here comes an A grade. Good luck.